Hello and welcome to practicalshotgun.com, the review we've all been waiting for, the best and most widely used magnetic caddies for practical shotgun on the market today. We've got Easy Load Next Gen 2, King Gen 6, Magload Nexus, R1 Innovations and Z-Gun. Unfortunately, although we have the next gen here, right here, I can't show you yet because this is only a prototype. So I'm afraid that we'll have to wait for another video. So first of all, I'm going to give you exactly as they come through the post to me. So we're going to do an unboxing and get a general feel for each one. I'll do this in alphabetical order. So to start with, we've got the King Competition. Nicely packaged, always arrives promptly, easy to open. Inside, very nicely packed, all foam, as you'd expect from probably the original magnetic caddy producer. In here, we have the King 12 Gen 6, plus a nice little packet of spares, a sticker, and in addition to Velcro, we've also got a belt attachment. I'm just going to put that box on one side, just to show you what's in this packet. We've got some more Velcro, various spares kit, big bit of Velcro there, and the proprietary connector for the back if you want to stick it on a Tech Lock or a Safariland ELS. So got all the bits and pieces you need just in case anything goes wrong. I'll put it back in a minute. So my first impressions, extremely well made, light, very impressive. Springs are all nice and smooth. Nice big magnets, just what we'd come to expect from King Competition. Now we're going to move on to the British offering from Magload. Connors developed these himself, manufactured them himself. So in the box, beautiful little box, Magload sticker, instructions, and lots of bits. Some Velcro, alcohol, back plate, very nicely logoed, and basically lots of bits. So, two advantages of Magload. If you like putting things together yourself, great. And also, unlike all the other caddies that are specific to either left or right-handed loading, with the Magloads, you set them up according to whether you want them left or right-handed. So we'll come back to that in a minute. Third, we've got the R1 Innovations from Spain. In here, you get a big piece of Velcro and a very thoroughly packed caddy. We're reviewing the 12s of all of them today. All of them come in anything from 8s to 32s, but just in the interest of keeping everything the same, they're all 12s. So, some stickers, it's very nice, it was nice to have stickers. Nice solid back plate, all nicely put together. Very nice, looks very impressive. Back plates are slightly oversized, the same as the Magload one will be, which is an interesting concept. Obviously individually sprung loaded, just like the Magload and the Kings. Double magnets at the top, micro and macro adjustments. Looks very nice, very well made. Then last but by no means least, from Russia with love, we have the Z gun. Very well packed. This has been sitting here for months waiting for me to open it. I've been really looking forward to this. Thank you, Yuri, in Russia. Wow, this is very well put together. Okay, after about 10 minutes of removing lots and lots of packaging, they're certainly well packed, we have the Z gun rig. And it looks like he's sent me his Z gun belt too, which is awesome. And I will be reviewing that in a separate video. So that's fantastic. Okay, here we have yet more cling film. Okay, finally guys, after lots and lots of cling film and unpacking, we get to the Z gun rig. Again, some spares, a nice patch with Velcro on it, and it's ready fitted with Velcro. Nicely cut out, and it's a very nice touch. This one, unlike the others, has got 3 magnets at the top. Each individual lower holder is spring loaded. Not quite sure how the macro adjustment works just yet, but we'll check that out later. So there you have it. We've got the Z gun rig, the Arwen rig, the Magload rig, and the King rig. What I'm going to do now is take some measurements and load them up and build this, and I'll see you in a second. Hello again, I'm back. So I've just assembled the Magload caddy. It took me about 15 minutes. Very straightforward, easy instructions. I'm not particularly technical, and it was easy. And they give you an Allen key to do it with and a couple of spares, including some bushes for the back in case you want to attach a Tek-Lock or Sparlock. So I'm going to be doing a lot of measurements on all these caddies now. I'm going to be using a trigger pull gauge to see how strong the magnets hold and what the release is like. I'm using a vernier to take various measurements for minimum, maximum shell capacity and the like. I'm going to weigh them. I'm going to do all sorts of different tests, and I will come back to you with the results of those a bit later and in the article below. But first of all, let me just show you what they look like when they're loaded up. So what I've done is I've used 70mm cartridges for all of these. They're all the same. 70mm is pretty much the industry standard these days for shotgunners in practical shotgun. As you can see with the King, you get to see a lot of the top of the shell for your thumb. They're retained at the bottom in a sort of slight cup, but it's just the spring retention that holds them in there. In terms of release, they release nicely, firm but consistent. The caddy itself weighs 380 grams. Moving on to the Magload. I've set this up for right-handed as well, but as I said earlier, you can set this up in the right-hand or left-hand configuration. With King, you basically just buy a conversion kit and you can swap it around. So again, don't get to see quite so much of the top of the shell with the Magload. They have a single magnet in the top rather than 2 magnets like the King, but their retention system is reliant much more on the spring. It's fixed in one position on the back, but the spring has a lot of trouble, unlike the King, where you can adjust the whole thing up and down slightly. So again, nice easy release, very consistent, very nice. Again, weight of this one is 478 grams. So that's nearly 100 grams heavier than the King. Whether that matters to you or not is a completely different ballgame. Moving on to the Arwen rig. Again, this is sort of similar to the King in that it's got two magnets at the top, a little half cup at the bottom. Just to point out, the cup at the bottom of the mag load is much more shaped to fit snugly into the bottom of your crimped shotgun shells. Again, you get to see quite a lot of the top of your shells here with this design, which means it's nice and easy for you to get your thumb over the top. Slightly harder retention there, or slightly harder pull, but still feels very consistent, very nice. As you see, the two springs at the top. Again, this has the ability to macro adjust as well as micro adjust. You've got some Allen key settings in here to make it harder or softer, and you've got some Allen key settings at the back to actually move the whole thing up and down. Weight of that one is 476 grams, so 2 grams lighter than the mag load. So pretty similar, really. And if you look, again, an oversized backplate, the same as the mag load. And then finally, we've got the Z gun rig. Very, very different design. All made with very sort of heavy duty plastic as opposed to metal backers. Very, very nicely engineered. Again, you've seen quite a bit of the top of the shells there. In terms of retention, again, very snug, good release. Here, if you notice, there's 3 magnets, and they're scooped around so that it follows the contours of the shell nicely. But in addition, unlike the others, this has much more of a holder at the bottom. It sort of clips the shell in nicely. Again, nice easy release, very consistent. No real way to adjust the overall length of these in a macro manner though. You have a certain amount of adjustment here, and I will be measuring that later, but there's no way of moving the whole thing up and down to accommodate massive fluctuations in the size of your shells. In terms of weight, this one weighs 406 grams, so sits between the King being the lightest, Z next, Arwen third, and Maglow slightly heaviest, but not a lot in it really, and won't really make a huge amount of difference to the way they perform. Okay, for my first test, we're going to try and work out how much crush force they'll take. This is for when you're leaning against barricades or just generally banging into things. So we're going to start off with a 3 kilogram dumbbell, and I'm going to try and place this right in the middle of the 2 shells. As you can see, no problem whatsoever for that. Move up to 6 kilograms. Again, trying difficult to get it to balance, but certainly no problem holding 6 kilos. Let's move up to 8 kilos. That's quite a weight. Just crush it with 8 kilos. That's pretty good going for the Kings. Let's move on to the Magload Nexus. Again, 3 kilos, no problem whatsoever. 6 kilos has crushed straight away. Okay, let's move on to the arms. So again, 3 kilos, no problem at all. 6 kilos, just about, slightly going. Don't think it's going to handle the 8 somehow. Crushed to the 8. Then on to the Z gun. Start off with the 3s, no problems whatsoever. The 6s, again, no problem at all. And then the 8s. Get it balanced, but basically it's handling the 8. Oh, yeah, if I just give it a slight more push. But on my very rough go there, I would say the Z gun wins, King second, Arwen third, and Nexus fourth. Okay, what we're going to try and determine now is the pull force from the centre. So I'm using a trigger pull gauge for this. I've got it set in kilograms and grams. And what I've done with each of them is I've placed the caddy on the table, put it just underneath the rim of the bottom cartridge, and then lining up with the direction of the magnet pull, I just slowly increase the force until it comes here. In this case, that reading was 1,321. I can tell you the average reading for King was 1,200 grams, 1,200 grams. The average reading for Magload was 842 grams. The average reading for Arwen was 1,132 grams. And the average reading for Z-Gun was 1,448 grams. So, the lightest release force is with the Magload, followed by Arwen, King, and then Z-Gun. Right, what we're going to do now is try and measure the force of the magnet at the top. Remember, the King has 2 magnets, slightly angled in. So, for this test, I'm going to put the lever right up underneath the top of the shell, and then again pull it towards me. Now that reading was 1,405 grams, so 1.4 kilograms. I can tell you now the average for the magnets pull on the Kings was 1,478. The average for the Magload was 390 grams. The average for Arwen was 1,109 grams, and the average for the Z-Gun was 1,265 grams. So, the lightest release is with the Magload, followed by Arwen, followed by Z-Gun, with King being the hardest. Okay, what I'm going to do now is measure the distance between the shells and the backplate at the narrowest point. This basically demonstrates how thick your fingers can be in order to grab the shells adequately. So what I've done is I've taken a gauge and in each case just measured that distance. So in terms of the Z-Gun, this has the biggest gap at 22.68 millimeters. The next biggest is King. At this point here is exactly 20 millimeters. Then you have Magload at 18.48, this distance here. Finally, Arwen at 18.2. Suffice to say, all of them are big enough to get my big fingers into. Unless you have particularly massive hands, then I think you'll be fine. Okay, now for the crux of shell sizing. As we all know, shells come in all sorts of different lengths. We're only talking about 12 gauge shells here. But this is what's called a 65mm cartridge. That means it's 65mm long when it opens out. So when it's closed up like this, it's 54. Okay? This is a buckshot plastic cartridge, and this one is 60.61. Now most of us use 70mm cartridges. 70mm cartridges, when unfired like this, are 58.3, or give or take a few mil long. So, 2 of these would be 116 mil, end on end. Okay. So what I've done is, with all of these caddies, I've adjusted them to their maximum possible length. In the case of the mag load and the Z gun, you can't adjust it. Their adjustment is purely from length of spring here. With the King, you have one big bolt on the back to loosen off, and then you undo each of these as far as they will go. When you've done that, the King will take a total of 138 millimeters. The Magload Nexus will do up to 134 millimeters. The R1 up to 125.1 when fully extended. Again, you have some screws on the back to loosen off and move. And the Z gun 118.5. So clearly, all of these are capable of taking a 70mm cartridge without any problems, and in fact something slightly bigger. The Z gun is the only one that really you can't adjust that much, and that's because it is specifically designed for practical shooting, where most of us use a 70mm cartridge. But for those of you that occasionally need to use bigger or smaller cartridges, it is useful to be able to have the wide variety of adjustment range. So in conclusion, the King, tried and tested. Obviously Kim and Yarko, who own the company and designed this, are top shooters. You get a very lightweight, functional package. Cons in my eyes are everything is sort of exposed, the springs and the runners, so if you get them really muddy, then you might have a problem and need to give them a bit of a clean off. You do obviously get a nice attachment on the back to attach tech locks and or Safariland ELSs, which is useful for the 3-gunners. But most of us in the practical shotgun world these days just put Velcro on the back, and again they supply that for you. The Magload Nexus, beauty of this is one caddy allows you to do left or right-handed loads, just with simply undoing it and changing it around, which means those of us that are learning to either load strong hand or weak hand don't have to buy 2 complete sets. Very simple design, fairly light retention. I've not used one in the field, so I don't know, but I know a lot of people do. British made, very nicely engineered, excellent caddy. Comes with some spacers on the back if you wanted to, again, attach an ELS or a tech lock, but again, plenty of space there to put the Velcro. The R1, obviously plastic parts, all enclosed, so no sort of springs to get dirty and covered in mud. I can't see how you would necessarily attach this very easily to a Safariland ELS or a tech lock. You'd probably have to drill some holes, which wouldn't be a big deal, but there you have it. Also, the backplate is larger than the actual caddy, which, again, if you're trying to get lots and lots of caddies on a 3-gun belt, that may well be a disadvantage. 2 nice sturdy magnets at the top, good retention, nice release, nicely built. And then to our Russian friends, this one's made in Spain, by the way. Very, very different design. I like it. It's obviously all plastic. With, again, you do have the sort of springs exposed, which again could potentially get muddy and caught up, I suppose, but there aren't that many of them. 3 mags to the top, light, sturdy. Again, it's got Velcro on the back, but they have pre-drilled holes, so you could, put some belt loops on there or drill some more holes in the middle and put an ELS or a tech lock in without any problem. Again, good retention, certainly a solid piece of kit. So all of them certainly do the job for us. in the practical world. Finland, Great Britain, Spain and Russia. Obviously the Swedish offering is missing because he is in the middle of launching a new product, which will have to be the subject of a separate video, I'm afraid. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and all the specs will be in the article below. Welcome to another video brought to you by PracticalShotgun.com. The long-awaited review of the Easy Load Next Gen 2 Caddy. Okay, so it comes boxed like this. Inside, nicely packed with some polystyrene. You get your caddy. This is obviously a 12. This one's a left-hand 12. Comes fully assembled. You do get some Velcro with it. I've actually already installed the Velcro. You also do get an attachment system to attach to the back, which will work with either Techloc's Safariland ELS's or the Double Alpha Academy quick release system. Okay, put that to one side. So what we're going to do today is what we've done with the other caddies. We're going to give you a basic overview first. Obviously, Easy Load have been around for a long time now. This is about the sort of 6th or 7th generation of their actual caddies. Magnus Gustafsson, who owns Easy Load and who is the designer and builder of these, is a top international competitor in his own right. These are made from plastic injection molded carbon reinforced plastic with two magnets at the top. As I said, they come in either a left or right hand version. This is the left hand version, and you can get them in 8s, 12s, 16s, 20s, 24s, 28s, 32s. They have a steel back plate. You've got macro adjustment here on the back with just a normal Allen key, and you can also tighten or loosen the spring pressure on the inside here. So when it's all loaded up, they're fairly easy to load, like most of the caddies. You have a sort of spring-loaded bottom and a magnetic top to hold them in, and a slight sort of cup at the bottom. So when you've got 12 loaded here, as you can see, it's all very neat and tidy. They hold them very straight. Plenty of room at the back, plenty of room at the top to grab as well. Nice solid release force, very consistent. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a number of measurements like we have in the past. First of all, we're going to weigh it. So in grams, this 12 caddy weighs 422 grams. The overall width of the caddy same at the top as it is at the bottom, is 129 millimeters. Obviously what we did before, we're going to do the crush test to start with. So we're going to put 4 shells in the center. And start off with a 3 kilogram weight. Obviously it handles that quite easily. And we're going to go with a 6 kilogram. Oh, not quite. So it nearly handles 6, but not quite. But plenty of retention there for you rolling around on the ground. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to measure the release forces. Okay, so to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to use a trigger pull gauge. Okay, and I'm going to clear it and make sure it's set in grams. So we're going to go into the center to start with. Help if I actually reset it. So in the center, 618 grams of force that time. Try again. $671 grams of force. $712 that time. So as you can see, it's around the sort of 675 to 700 mark that way. Now, if we test the magnetic force at the top, okay, that one came in at 500 odd. Let me just test the next one. $580 that time. $608. So around the sort of 575, 600 gram mark for the magnetic force. Okay, next we're going to measure the maximum and minimum amount or distance there is between the top and the bottom, which will show us how big our cartridges and how small a cartridge this will take. Now, I've done this already. When it's fully condensed, it's 100 ml, which means you could take two 50 ml cartridges, and when it's fully extended, it's 127.5 ml, which is basically 64 ml cartridges. If you take a 70 ml cartridge like this, when it's unfired, that's 58 ml. So as you can see, you've got a good adjustment range. You could go down to as low as sort of 65 ml cartridges and up probably as high as 75 ml cartridges. So plenty of adjustment. In terms of how much of the shell is visible at the top for your thumb, iShooter have varied this quite a lot over the years, and what they've done now is basically you can see about half the shell, which equates to 12.445 millimeters. Some people prefer to see more, some people prefer to see less. I suppose 12.45 is a fairly average size. So overall, it's a very lightweight, sits somewhere in the middle of the pack when it comes to lightweight. Strong, sturdily built caddy from iShooter. Nice sort of spring retention on the bottom, very, very even. Decent magnets, well built, with obviously lots of options in terms of attaching to your belt or directly to your Velcro belt. You know, all in all, what we've come to expect from iShooter, really, a very good, solid, very neat caddy. None of the springs are exposed to the elements, so you know, if you do fall in the mud, then you know, you won't have a big problem. And all in all, very nice.